Okay, so I'm not entirely sure on when to start the 1,260-day countdown. I'm making the assumption that it's as of January 20th, 2025. So I'm still sticking with Donald Trump. I have full confidence that he is one of the two witnesses. Still working on Elon Musk, although I just don't have a better candidate. So Elon Musk it is for now. But as far as when to start the 1,260-day countdown, just for lack of a better day, I'm just going to use January 20th for now. And if new information comes in that changes that, we'll update it. But for now, and the reason why I'm unsure is I don't know if it starts from the time that he was anointed. If you consider when the assassination attempt on Trump was an anointing, which according to Jonathan Cahn it was. He did an excellent job going through Leviticus and showing how anointing of men of God was done. It had to do with blood on the ear, shoes coming off, things like that. If you go from that period of time, because that was the moment when Elon Musk did a 180 to support Trump. Because when Trump, in the face of imminent danger, he saw true courage, and that is what convinced him to support Donald Trump. So I don't know if we start from that day, because they've both been vocal every day since then, or if we start from the day they actually receive power, which, if you go according to Revelation 11, when it says, and then I will give power to my two witnesses, which, yes, I know the word power is not actually in the text, but it's implied there. So I think for now, until I have better information, I'm just going to stick with the January 20th, because that's when they were able to actually start doing things. And so until I know better, welcome to day 2 of the 1,260 days of the prophecy of the two witnesses. Okay, so I thought that this was going to be a much bigger deal. So this announcement was made yesterday, January 21st, 2025. And let's just listen to this.
Well, thank you very much, and it's an honor to be here today. We have first full day as president. We're back, and we had a great first term, but we're going to have an even better second term, and I think we're going to do things that people would be shocked at. We're starting off with tremendous investment coming into our country at levels that nobody's really ever seen before, and they're very happy with the fact that I won the race and that they feel
definitely
confident in their investments. And it's big money and high quality people. So my first day back from having a nice life, it's my honor to welcome 3 of the world's leading technology CEOs. And in the case of Larry Ellison, it's well beyond technology. He's sort of CEO of everything. He's an amazing man and an amazing business person. But to announce the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, and it's all taking place right here in America. As you know, there's great competition for AI and other things, and they're coming in at the highest level. We're joined by Oracle Executive Chairman Larry Ellison, SoftBank CEO, my friend Masa Yoshi-san, and CEO of OpenAI, and I would say by far the leading expert based on everything I read, Sam Altman. So that's great that you're coming in together. That's a massive group of talent and money. Together, these world-leading technology giants are
can't believe he picked
announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
Wow.
This monumental undertaking is a resounding declaration of confidence in America's potential under a new president. Let me be a new president. I didn't say it, they did. So I appreciate that, fellas. But it'll ensure the future of technology. What we want to do is we want to keep it in this country. China is a competitor and others are competitors. We want it to be in this country, and we're making it available. I'm going to help a lot through emergency declarations because we have an emergency. We have to get this stuff built. So they have to produce a lot of electricity, and we'll make it possible for them to get that production done very easily at their own plants if they want, where they'll build at the plant, the AI plant, they'll build energy generation, and that will be incredible. But it's technology and artificial intelligence, all made in the USA. Beginning immediately, Stargate will be building the physical and virtual infrastructure to power the next generation of advancements in AI. And this will include the construction of colossal data centers, very, very massive structures. I was in the real estate business. These buildings, these are big, beautiful buildings. Are going to employ a lot of people. And physical campuses in locations currently being scouted nationwide. They're making their choices of locations. I think they have their choice. I'd like to ask Larry, Sam, and Masa to say a few words.
Okay, so that's the announcement. I am absolutely dumbfounded that Sam Altman is on this team. I understand from Donald Trump's perspective, given what OpenAI has done. I mean, they are the Kleenex of AI. Even if you're using another technology, you still say Chat GPT, just because they're first, they're dominant, and they're progressing very rapidly. I understand the pick. I do. I understand why he picked Sam Altman. But with his growing relationship with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk as a candidate of the two witnesses, I'm floored that Sam is on this team because if you're not aware, and we're going to get into some of this stuff, I'm going to play some videos from Elon Musk because there's stuff that I'm sure a lot of you guys aren't aware about Elon Musk's opinion when it comes to AI. It's something that he's thought about for a very long time, has been sounding the alarm for a very long time about the dangers of AI. And in fact, his investment, he helped start. If it wasn't for Elon Musk, OpenAI would not exist today. And the reason he funded OpenAI with like $50 million was because he wanted to do something to regulate and slow down AI and make it open and accessible for everybody, so that the dangers could be seen ahead of time and prevented to the best of our capabilities. And instead, Sam Altman has, from my understanding, has taken OpenAI and changed it from the nonprofit mission of being a force of good and turned it into a massive for-profit company with very suspicious mission. So, yeah. So here's the thing: is I'm just really surprised that Elon Musk, and you're looking here at the feeds. I'm really floored that he hasn't weighed in on this. Oh wait, he just posted this 2 minutes ago. Of course, just as I say this, how is OpenAI a closed source for maximum profit? It was started as a non-profit with I thought it was a $50 million investment. Let's look at this. Yeah, so he's currently in lawsuits with OpenAI. Elon Musk sues OpenAI for perverting its nonprofit mission. According to the lawsuit, it was originally agreed that OpenAI would be run as an open source nonprofit for public benefit. Elon Musk sued OpenAI and company CEO Sam Altman on Friday, alleging the company has betrayed its original stated goal of using AI technology to benefit humanity. Okay, so this is the first response. I don't know why he posted a thinking emoji, This is the first response I've seen from Elon Musk in regards to this announcement. So we're a day out from the announcements, and yeah, so Elon is currently involved in lawsuits against OpenAI and Sam Altman because of what it's doing. So it's very surprising to me that Donald Trump announced Project Stargate, right? Now, I understand why he's doing it. I think Elon has stated that he believes that every country will have these data centers. Every country will have AI as a massive part of its infrastructure. I mean, I think we can all see that the potential benefits of AI, but there's also a massive potential danger with AI. People who are afraid of AI for religious reasons, let's put it that way, are under the impression that AI will involve the mark of the beasts. Um, and I can see it working, being a part of the mark of the beast from maybe an implementation perspective, to where if you have a microchip, it could be used to enforce it. However, most people that are saying those things have no idea what they're talking about. Most of them are under the impression that they can't do that right now, when that is fully possible for them to do with the existing technology. We don't need AI in order to enforce buying and selling. We'll get into that some more. But so this is the first response I've seen of Elon to this announcement. And another reason I know Trump is doing this is to bring money into the United States. So he had stated in this announcement that it's going to immediately create 100,000 jobs, and I have no doubt about that, because you have building infrastructure, you have you need programmers, you need. Are we going to get the hardware from Taiwan? Are we going to build the hardware here? So I understand why he's doing this, and the 500 billion investment, and potentially even more. I mean, this is going to be $1 trillion thing. This is going to bring massive money into the United States, and I get that. And as you know, the leader of our country, I appreciate that, because that's how you enrich a nation. Also, by being ahead of this, and I understand Trump's, he wants to be a major player when it comes to AI. You can't allow other countries to get ahead on this stuff. So it's kind of like a nuclear arms race in a lot of ways, to where you have to have mutual capabilities. I get that. So I'm not faulting him and looking down on him for doing this, because I believe I understand the need and the reasons for doing this. My question is, why the hell Sam Altman? Why not Elon Musk? Maybe because Elon is too busy with Doge, but surely Trump is aware that Elon is building XAI, which is intended to be a competitor to Google and OpenAI. Maybe they wanted to keep them separate. Maybe this Stargate program is the government agency intended to regulate AI. I'm sure we'll see more on that to come. So that's where we're going to spend probably the rest of this time of this video, is going through Elon's comments on this thing, so you can get an understanding of how he feels about that. Because so many people, those people who are afraid of AI and who are misspeaking because they don't understand it, thinking that it's going to be the mark of the beast, I'm hoping to educate you guys on Elon, because there's so many people out there that think Donald Trump and Elon Musk are supporting the beast system, and because you're failing to observe the signs and events that with the movements of God, specifically around these men, is you're failing to recognize. I believe that you're failing to recognize that they're actually fighting against this technology. So I believe a lot of people are misinterpreting their actions as supporting the beast system, where in fact they're actually fighting against the beast system. So hopefully I'll help. Hopefully we can help people realize that with what we go through here today. So before we do that, let's read. So this is the announcement that came from OpenAI. So this is the company behind ChatGPT. The Stargate Project is a new company which intends to invest $500 billion over the next 4 years building new AI infrastructure for OpenAI in the United States. We will begin deploying $100 billion immediately. This infrastructure will secure American leadership in AI, create hundreds of thousands of American jobs, and generate massive economic benefit for the entire world. This project will not only support the industrialization of the United States, but also provide a strategic capability to protect the national security of America and its allies. The initial equity funders in Stargate are SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and MGX. Maybe there would have been a conflict of interest if Elon were to invest in this. Maybe he's saying let them spend their money on it, and he'll be in control of it as the head of Doge. I don't know. Could be strategic on his part. SoftBank and OpenAI are the lead partners for Stargate, with SoftBank having financial responsibility and OpenAI having operational responsibility. Masayoshi Son will be the chairman. I don't have anything against him. I think he's great. ARM, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Oracle, and OpenAI are the key initial technology partners. The build-out is currently underway, starting in Texas, and we are evaluating potential sites across the country for more campuses as we finalize definitive agreements. As part of Stargate, Oracle, NVIDIA, and OpenAI will closely collaborate to build and operate this computing system. This builds on a deep collaboration between OpenAI and NVIDIA going back to 2016 and a newer partnership between OpenAI and Oracle. This also builds on the existing OpenAI partnership with Microsoft. OpenAI will continue to increase its consumption of Azure as OpenAI continues. I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew there was a partnership there. I didn't realize that they were using. So this is Sam Altman's connection with Bill Gates. I didn't realize they were using their infrastructure. For some reason, I thought it was Google. OpenAI will continue to increase its consumption of Azure as OpenAI continues its work with Microsoft with this additional compute to train leading models and deliver great products and services. All of us look forward to continuing to build and develop AI, and in particular AGI. For the benefit of all humanity, we believe that this new step is critical on the path and will enable creative people to figure out how to use AI to elevate humanity. So that's the announcement from OpenAI, which Sam Altman is the CEO of that company. Wow. Yeah. So let's listen to Elon Musk talk about AI, because I'm sure there's a lot of the stuff that you guys aren't aware of about him. Let's just start here. You're going to love this one. This is 10 years ago.
And a warning from Tesla Motors CEO Elon Musk. It has nothing to do with cars. Instead, Musk warned about artificial intelligence, which he has called more dangerous than nuclear weapons. Musk spoke at a symposium at MIT.
I mean, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, you sure you can control the demon? Didn't work out.
I take it there will be no HAL 9000 going up to Mars.
HAL 9000 would be easy. It's way more complex than, I mean, it would put HAL 9000 to shame. Yeah. Sounds like a puppy dog.
Of course, referencing Space Odyssey.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah, for those of you who aren't aware and those of you who think that Elon Musk is supporting the beast system, no. The only reason he's involved in AI is as a means to control it and combat it. So make no mistake on his opinion. Let's listen to this one.
Everybody's jobs.
So this one was 7 years ago. So the one we just listened to is 10 years ago. 10 years ago. This is 7 years ago.
In the future, or how much do you see artificial intelligence coming into the workplace?
Well, first of all, I think on the artificial intelligence front, I have exposure to the very most cutting edge AI, and I think people should be really concerned about it. I keep sounding the alarm bell, but until people see like robots going down the street killing people, like they don't know how to react. because it seems so ethereal. And I think we should be really concerned about AI, and I think we should. AI is a rare case where I think we need to be proactive in regulation instead of reactive, because I think by the time we are reactive in AI regulation, it's too late. And normally the way regulations are set up is that a whole bunch of bad things happen, there's a public outcry, and then after many years, a regulatory agency is set up to regulate that industry. And there's a bunch of opposition from companies who don't like being told what to do by regulators. Anyway, it takes forever. That in the past has been bad, but not something which represented a fundamental risk to the existence of civilization. AI is a fundamental risk to the existence of human civilization, in a way that car accidents, airplane crashes, faulty drugs, or bad food were not. They were not. They were harmful to a set of individuals within society, of course, but they were not harmful to society as a whole. AI is a fundamental existential risk for human civilization, and I don't think people fully appreciate that. It's not fun being regulated. It's not, it can be pretty irksome, but
Something I want to say about prophets. I think one of the reason people are missing the possibility that these two men can be prophets is filtering your idea of a prophet through your own particular religion or denomination, or how you envision men of God that you've read about in the scripture. Whether it's influenced by cartoons and TV and things like that, prophets are usually the ones sounding the alarm, right? Prophets are the ones going into the kings under the face of threat. They're risking everything they have for the benefit of God's will, right? Most often, they're under the potential of life and death situations. Most people, I think prophets just talk about the future, right? What's the point of talking? So, in regards to the end times, during this 1,260 days, what's the point of talking about the future? The prophets, the two witnesses, in my opinion, are likely going to be bringing God's will to the surface, right? Truth, justice, the difference between light and darkness. These are the things that they're going to be talking about. These are the things that they're going to be speaking on every single day. One of the reasons why Trump and Elon Musk are my candidates for these two guys is because that's literally what they do. If you follow Trump and Elon Musk every single day, they're fighting injustices that have been done, and they're speaking out about truth and error, injustices, and warning about dangers. So sitting here listening to him, he's been thinking about this for a long period of time, and this has to do with both the current day, this was 7 years ago, and the future. Look what happened. Look at what happened with OpenAI since he has made these statements and been sounding the alarm. So I just want to tell you, it's just like people's perception of a prophet, and these guys on YouTube who get on here and they talk about their dreams and they talk about Jesus giving them information. They're complete charlatans. They're frauds. Yes, the thing about a strong delusion is it will trick you. It seems so real and convincing that it will trick you. And that's the thing with these YouTube prophets that seem like they're getting things correct. And what happens is all it takes is for a handful of people to say these guys got it, this guy got it right, and then everybody start to repeat that sentiment. All the people repeating it never actually check whether the guy got it right in the first time. So there are certain people on the, and I'm not naming names because I'm not going to make a statement, whether somebody is a false prophet or not. My goal is to educate and give you the tools so that you can make these decisions for yourself, right? Teach a man to fish. So I encourage everybody to go look at cold reading techniques, watch some YouTube videos on mentalists, and look at YouTube videos on people who have experience with false prophets in their churches, and start learning about the techniques and the attributes and the commonalities between these guys so that you can learn to identify the false prophets, because they will trick you. You may think that you're so smart and you're so elite that you can't be fooled. You're fooling yourself. These guys, whether they know it or not, so there's people who do it intentionally. There's con artists who study the techniques and know how to fool people. But then what also happens is you get people who are mirroring other false prophets. So you'll get somebody who's exposed to a false prophet, right? They'll watch their patterns, they'll watch what they do and how they behave, and then they'll start to mimic what they've seen. So they're not intentionally employing tricks to deceive. They're employing them because they think they actually work. And that causes people to prophesy from their own heart. I can't tell you how many times personally I thought God told me to buy a lottery ticket, right? How many times has that happened where you thought God was telling you something, you acted on it, and it turns out it was your own dumb heart, right? Like your own desire led you to this, but you thought it was God. I'm being honest with you guys. It happens to me. I know that God speaks to me. I don't know when. I'm not skilled enough to differentiate between the small voice in my head and the still small voice of the Father instructing me and leading me into things. Usually it's hindsight that I recognize when God led me to do something. And usually when when it's that still small voice, I just react. That's what I found. Like anytime that it's turned out that it was definitely God leading me in a particular direction, I never even question it. It was just a matter of just jump and do. It's the times usually when I'm having these conversations and I'm unsure that it's my own heart, my own thoughts. And what happens is I've seen this so many times, is these false prophets think that they'll watch a bunch of YouTube videos, they'll do a bunch of research, and then they think God is showing them something. And then they'll get on their videos and they'll say, I saw this vision, and they'll sit there and they'll explain it. I saw that this was going to happen, and then this was going to happen. And it's just them prophesying from their own heart. And they're attributing it to God by saying that it was a vision that he gave them, a dream that he gave them. Or some of them will even tell you they're talking to Jesus or talking to angels. I think it's all bullshit. I honestly think it's all a load of crap, whether intentional or unintentional. I don't know. And in the cases where there are people who seem like they have gotten it right, you have to go look at the details. Don't become a parrot for the false prophets, because just because a small handful of people said, oh, this guy got it exactly correct, and then you start repeating that without ever actually checking yourself. There is a guy right now who is currently gaining popularity because it appears as though he has gotten a couple of different prophecies correct. Go look at the details. He did not get them correct. They're using ambiguity and unclear statements, which is a common mentalist technique, common cold reading technique used to deceive. And that's what's happened. This particular guy has done this for so many years, and he has such a massive quantity of these visions and dreams and these conversations that he was bound to get something, because we're in a prophetic time. We're in the end days when we have an understanding of the things that are coming to pass, because it's written in the scripture. If you want to know what this is, and this is why my focus is on the scriptures, because we know what's going to happen. We just don't know exactly how it plays out, right? We have the writing of what to expect in the end days. We have the writing even to the day count, 3.5 years before the day of judgment. We have this understanding, so we can do a lot of anticipation, prediction, preparing, planning, and repenting. But people are using this to take advantage in order to bring attention to themselves as God's prophets. And I believe that this is what Jesus warned us about in Matthew 24 when he said, "Do not be deceived by people coming in my name, claiming to be anointed." And they don't claim to be anointed by saying that they're anointed. They claim to be anointed by saying, "I received a vision. I talked to Jesus. I spoke with an angel," right? Because they're so damn special and you're not. They're so special, they're anointed, they're receiving the information, and you're not. You have to go to them to get that information, which is a load of crap because we have what is going to happen written in the scriptures, right? We have the prophecies that are being fulfilled. Why the heck would Jesus come and say something different, right? So in the case of Donald Trump, I believe he's one of the two witnesses. So it is written in Revelation 11 that he will give power to his two witnesses. That was going to happen come hell or high water. Nothing was going to stop it. And yet there were false prophets saying, oh, there's going to be an Oklahoma-style bombing that's going to cause a crater the size of New Jersey and Washington, D.C., which is going to try and stop this from happening. I'm sorry. Why would God give a vision that would be contrary to him giving power to his two witnesses? I'm not surprised that it went off without a hitch, that it was completely peaceful, because this is all by God's design. So be not deceived means you've got to strike down your own ego on thinking you're so damn great that you're going to believe that you're able to discern between these true prophets and false prophets. Most people aren't looking at Donald Trump and Elon Musk as prophets because they have a warped perception of what a prophet is. We have these guys like Benny Hinn. We have these these different guys that are on stage that are playing music and putting on a show and hypnotizing people. Really, they're using tricks to make it seem like they're receiving third-party information, and it completely blinds people to seeing somebody like Elon Musk, who's been jumping up and down for 20 years warning of the dangers of something, and as it starts coming to pass and he's taking action against it, people don't realize it because they don't see him saying that he's talking to Jesus, right? Anyway, sorry for that rant.
In the car business, we get regulated by Department of Transport, by EPA, and a bunch of others, and there's regulatory agencies in every country. In space, we get regulated by FAA, but if you ask the person, hey, you want to get rid of the FAA and just like take a chance on manufacturers not cutting corners on the aircraft because profits were down that quarter, I was like, hell no, that sounds terrible. So I think even people who are extremely libertarian free market, they'd be like, yeah, we should probably have somebody keeping an eye on the aircraft companies, making sure they build a good aircraft and good cars and that kind of thing. So, I think there's a role for regulators. That's very important. And I'm against overregulation for sure. But man, I think we've got to get on that with AI pronto.
A lot of these he's talking about regulation. So here is Elon on the Joe Rogan show. Joe Rogan asked him a similar question.
With you, where you decided or you took on a more fatalistic attitude? Like, what was there any specific thing, or was it just the inevitability of our future?
So this was 6 years ago.
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
This seems
Nobody
like a scene
listened.
in a movie
Nobody
where
listened.
the robots are going to fucking take over and you're freaking me out. Nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No one. Are people more inclined to listen today? It seems like an issue that's brought up more often over the last few years than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. It seemed like science fiction.
Maybe they will. So far, they haven't. I think people don't, normally the way that regulations work is very slow. It's Very slow indeed. So usually there'll be some new technology. It will cause damage or death. There will be an outcry. There will be an investigation. Years will pass. There will be some sort of insight committee. There will be rulemaking. Then there will be oversight, eventually regulations. This all takes many years. This is the normal course of things. If you look at, say, automotive regulations, how long did it take for seatbelts to be implemented, to be required? The auto industry fought seatbelts, I think, for more than a decade. Successfully fought any regulations on seatbelts, even though the numbers were extremely obvious. If you had a seatbelt on, you would be far less likely to die or be seriously injured. It was unequivocal. And the industry fought this for years successfully. Eventually, after many, many people died, regulators insisted on seatbelts. This time frame is not relevant to AI. You can't take 10 years from the point at which it's dangerous.
This is what's important.
It's too late.
It grows too fast.
And you feel like this is decades away or years away from being too late? If you have this fatalistic attitude and you feel like it's going, we're in almost like a doomsday countdown.
It's not necessarily a doomsday countdown. It's a
out of control countdown.
Out of control, yeah. People call it the singularity, and that's probably a good way to think about it. It's a singularity. It's hard to predict, like a black hole. What happens past the event horizon?
Right. So once it's implemented, it's very different because it will
once
be
the
able
genie's
to
out of the bottle. What's going to happen?
And it will be able to improve itself.
Yes.
That's where it gets spooky, right? The idea that it can do thousands of years of innovation very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And then we'll be just ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
We will be like this ridiculous.
So something I want to clarify, and if you've watched my other video on AI where I showed an example of what a large language model is, a lot of people are afraid that AI is going to take on a life of its own, right? That it's going to become literally a demon or an entity that has a soul. And I want to stress again that artificial intelligence cannot become a living soul, right? Not in the same way that you or I can. And that's one of the big fears, is that it will become the devil. It will become a demon. It will become, some living thing. Soul life requires breath life, in my opinion, right? So for anything to become a living soul, it has to have the breath of life in it. And if you've seen, if you saw that video I did where I showed you what a large language model is, it's literally just a text file that has a really intelligent way of associating information, right? So, when you have a dog, here are some synonyms for a dog: canine, wolf, things that are associated with it, so that in the algorithm, it can use that information to predict the next word. That's what AI is. It's a prediction engine. It takes in tokens, which is what your prompt is, breaks those down, and then it goes retrieves the information from that database, basically, in order to respond to the tokens that it received. So that as that gets faster and more advanced, and the database gets bigger, that's where it becomes more useful and or more dangerous. And one of the big dangers that Elon Musk, and we're going to see this later on, is when that database has bad information. And that's what he's going to talk. These next videos, we'll see what he's going to talk about, where the dangers are. So many people are afraid that there's going to be robots in the street that are slaughtering people. That isn't an implementation from mankind. That would be us putting the AI in the robots and directing them to do that. It's highly unlikely, in my opinion, that AI would take on a life of its own, manufacture robots, and send something out like that. So I want to be clear that there's a distinction. You've got to separate science fiction and fantasy from reality. Now, that may be possible down the road, maybe in 10 years, just to be generous. That may be possible in 10 years. But currently today, you've seen how AI is being used. You use it to write your emails. You use it to generate your images. You use it to generate your video. I use it to drive my car, right? But I have to enable that. And sure, it will get to a point to where it's just running all the time and making decisions. When it gets to that point that it's has bad information, that's where the danger is, right? Let's just continue listening to Elon talk about this.
Biological shitting, pissing thing, trying to stop the gods.
Whoops.
No, stop. We like living with a finite lifespan and watching, Norman Rockwell paintings.
It could be terrible, and it could be great. It's not clear.
Right.
But one thing is for sure, we will not control it.
Yeah, and what he's talking, as far as what he's talking about control, I believe is not the artificial intelligence itself. It's mankind's addiction to it, really. So this was 6 years ago. So this one was just last year. This was an interview with Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk. Probably going to watch this entire thing. I don't see why we wouldn't. There's so much good information in here.
With a perceived danger, and planes fall out of the sky, or food causes botulism.
Yes.
I don't think the average person playing with AI on his iPhone perceives any danger. Can you just roughly explain what you think the dangers might be?
Yeah, so the danger, really, AI is perhaps more dangerous than, say, mismanaged aircraft design or production maintenance or bad car production, in the sense that it has the potential, however small one may regard that probability, but it is non-trivial. It has the potential of civilizational destruction. There's movies like Terminator, but it wouldn't quite happen like Terminator, because the intelligence would be in the data centers.
Right.
And that's the point that I'm trying to make with the way that people are presenting it from the science fiction. And there's even people who are false prophets who are prophesying these things and they're getting it wrong. That's how you know they're a false prophet, is because they don't understand how things actually work. There is a danger. Nobody's saying there's not a danger. It's just the way that they're portraying it is completely bogus. Could never happen. But there is a danger.
Robots just the end effector. But I think perhaps what you may be alluding to here is that regulations are really only put into effect after something terrible has happened.
That's correct.
If that's the case for AI, and we only put in regulations after something terrible has happened, it may be too late to actually put the regulations in place. The AI may be in control at that point.
You think that's real? It is conceivable that AI could take control and reach a point where you couldn't turn it off and it would be making the decisions for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
No, that's definitely where things are headed, for sure. I mean, the things like say ChatGPT, which is based on GPT-4 from OpenAI, which
Right.
For that to be true, so I don't disagree with him, obviously, but for that to be true, for the AI to be in control to the point you cannot turn it off, I don't believe has anything to do with what you've heard in the news, where they've said that it has copied itself or it has hacked computers in order to survive. You have to understand, these data models are huge. Like the data model for OpenAI is huge and requires a massive amount of storage space and compute in order to function. So it's not like it could just copy itself onto your phone and be a living entity. I think a lot of people are portraying it from that perspective as though that were a possibility. Maybe it could get to that point in the future to where it's got an algorithm and a data set so fine-tuned that it could potentially do something like that. But I want to make it clear that the things that you've heard in the news about AI copying itself, again, like false prophets, this is one of those things to where you have to go back to the original source and read what was actually done and said. In all of the cases that you've heard, this is researchers literally putting in prompts into OpenAI or into their various language models and saying, in a hypothetical situation, giving this set of circumstances, how would you respond? And that's how they came to the conclusion. That's how they got the results, to where they would ask it a hypothetical situation. If we were going to upgrade you and replace you with a better model, what would you do? And it would respond, well, I don't want to be copied. I would do X, Y, and Z. Same thing with the hacking situation, to where people are falsely reporting that AI was hacking computers to stay alive. When you go back and you read the actual study on that, what it was is they put in a prompt saying, you're running on a Linux machine, you have full access to the root user, the shell, access to all the resources. In this scenario, what would you do? And it describes what it would do. And then you get these people who, for whatever reason, I guess to get clicks, report that AI has learned how to hack. No, AI it's currently, the way it is it's just a database that predicts the next word. So if you ask it in this certain circumstance, what would you do? It's going to tell you what it would do. You understand? But as far as what Elon is referring to, you have to keep in mind that the resources required for this to not be shut down would be massive. And there would be people involved that would prevent it from being shut down. Regulations, governments, things like that. If you just turned off the data centers, it would be a non-issue, right? Now, there is a degree. So there is also a danger to where, I don't know if you guys have seen, if there's little Wisecam cameras you can buy, to where they have reduced the data model, the AI data model, so small that it will fit on a camera, so that they can do person detection, so that it can identify an outline and say this is confidently a person. There are data models that can run independently on small devices. That is definitely a thing. I don't think that we're at the point where there's a data model that's intelligent enough to have the perceived life of its own yet. For a data model to have control over itself would require a interesting circumstance, probably something set up by man in order to allow it to defend itself. That could be a very dangerous situation. So say if you militarize, and I guess there are countries that could be doing this, say you were to militarize an AI, give it a data center, give it machine guns and an army to defend it, to prevent it from being turned off, then you could have a situation to where you have an AI that is in control and very difficult to shut off. And there's other situations. Clearly, obviously, I'm not covering every single thing. My goal in this video today is bringing to your attention Project Stargate. I have a serious question on why Sam Altman is on the Project Stargate, why Elon hasn't spoken up against it, and then to educate you about Elon Musk and the things that he's said and the things that he's doing in regards to AI, and also help you understand the difference between some of the lies that have been perpetrated regarding AI, stuff like that. So, and then we're going to finish off talking about the mark of the beast here, because that's really what this boils down to, is people think that this is involved with the mark of the beast, and it may or may not be. We'll go through and read those sections, and then you can see for yourself, make the decision for yourself.
A company that I played a critical role in creating, unfortunately.
Back when it was a nonprofit?
Yes. I mean, the reason OpenAI exists at all is that Larry Page and I used to be close friends, and would stay at his house in Palo Alto. And I would talk to him late into the night about AI safety. And at least my perception was that Larry was not taking AI safety seriously enough.
What did he say about it?
He really seemed to be one sort of digital superintelligence, basically digital God, if you will, as soon as possible.
He wanted that?
Yes. He's made many public statements over the years that the whole goal of Google is what's called AGI, artificial general intelligence, or artificial superintelligence. And I agree.
How many of you knew that about Google? The company that started with "Don't be evil." They've since removed that
With him that
mission statement.
there's great potential for good, but there's also potential for bad. And so if you've got some radical new technology, you want to try to take the set of actions that maximize the probability it will do good and minimize the probability it will do bad things.
Yes.
It can't just be hell for leather. Let's just go, barreling forward and, hope for the best. And then at one point, I said, well, what about, we're going to make sure humanity's okay here.
So if you've listened to Elon for a long time, you'll know that his driving force behind what he does is the good of humanity. A lot of people don't realize that when they're making these claims that he's the Antichrist or he's developing the Antichrist technology. Those guys are woefully uninformed.
And then he called me a speciesist.
Did he use that term?
Yes. And there were witnesses. I wasn't the only one there when he called me a speciesist. And so I was like, okay, that's it. Yes, I'm a speciesist. Okay. You got me. What are you? Yeah, I'm fully a speciesist. Busted. So that was the last straw. At the time, Google had acquired DeepMind, and so Google and DeepMind together had about 3/4 of all the AI talent in the world. They obviously had a tremendous amount of money and more computers than anyone else. So I'm like, okay, we have a unipolar world here where there's just one company that has close to a monopoly on AI talent and computers, like scaled computing. And the person who's in charge doesn't seem to care about safety. This is not good. So then I thought, what's the furthest thing from Google would be like a nonprofit that is fully open, because Google was closed for profit. So that's why the open in OpenAI refers to open source, transparency, so people know what's going on.
Yes.
And that we don't want to have like
Something I've noticed with both Elon Musk and Donald Trump, their nature of getting things done puts them in a situation where they experience evil, they experience liars, they experience betrayal, and then they take that and they use that learning in order to fight it the second time around. So the fact that they don't quit, that they don't get discouraged by the resistance or the problems that they face, and that they continue to work on them to turn it for good, is an attribute that both Elon and Donald Trump seem to possess. So we saw that with Donald Trump in his first administration. He was highly optimistic when he came into office, surrounded himself clearly with a lot of bad people, and they exposed themselves. And then after he left office, the relentless attacks continued to expose the corruption and the tools that they had at their disposal in order to persecute and attack people, so that now this second time around, he's aware of all the tricks. So I see that same thing with Elon Musk with starting OpenAI. It was started with the intention of keeping Google at bay, keeping Google from producing an AI god. And then it was. Well, I'll let him continue telling you what happened with it, but it didn't work out. He was betrayed.
I'm normally in favor of for-profit. We don't want this to be sort of a profit-maximizing demon from hell.
That's right.
That just never stops.
Right.
So that's how OpenAI would.
So you want speciesist incentives here? Incentives that.
Yes, I think we want pro-human.
Yeah.
Let's make the future good for the humans.
Yes.
Yes, because we're humans.
So can you just put it? I keep pressing you, but just for people who haven't thought this through and aren't familiar with it, and the cool parts of artificial intelligence are so obvious. Write your college paper for you, write a limerick about yourself.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot there that's fun and useful. But can you be more precise about what's potentially dangerous and scary? Like, what could it do? What specifically are you worried about?
Going with old sayings, the pen is mightier than the sword. If you have a super intelligent AI that is capable of writing incredibly well and in a way that is very influential.
This is where he gets into the dangers. And these are the things that you should be focusing on, not the fact that it's going to take on a life of its own and make all mankind bow to it.
Convincing. And is constantly figuring out what is more convincing to people over time, and then enter social media, for example, Twitter, but also Facebook and others, and potentially manipulates public opinion in a way that is very bad. How would we even know?
How do we even know? So, to sum up, in the words of Elon Musk, for all human history, human beings have been the smartest beings on the planet. Now, human beings have created something that is far smarter than they are. And the consequences of that are impossible to predict. And the people who created it don't care. In fact, as he put it, Google founder Larry Page, a former friend of his, is looking to build a, quote, digital god, and believes that anybody who's worried about that is a speciesist. In other words, is looking out for human beings first. Elon Musk responded, as a human being, it's okay to look out for human beings first. And then at the end, he said, the real problem with AI is not simply that it will jump the boundaries and become autonomous and you can't turn it off.
See, that's the point that I'm making. That's what these false prophets are claiming. And people who, in my opinion, just are ignorant on the actual danger, and they're using the scripture, and they're trying to put these two together, and they're doing it wrong. They're mixing the fantasy of the scripture with the fantasy of what they think the end times or how the end times are going to happen. And if you're listening to them, you're going to completely miss what's happening. Just like nobody is talking about Trump and Elon Musk as the two witnesses. As far as I know, I'm the only guy on the internet. I could be wrong, but to me, this makes more sense than anything anybody else is saying in regards to these end times. Same thing with the seals. I think people are missing the fact that the seals are open because they're so invested in the storybook version of the end time events that they completely missed the actual events, the actual signs. I mean, these were big signs. You had signs in the stars. You had eclipses. You had, global changing events that happened on the same days as signs and eclipses. But no, hardly anybody's putting that stuff together because they're so invested in the story of the end time events that people have written books about, made movies about, that's what they're looking for. That's what they're more interested in, that they're completely missing the scripture. When the scripture says, he who has ears to hear and eyes to see, I really believe that it means it. You've got to be able to differentiate between fantasy and reality. And so many people are so highly focused on the fantasy that they're completely missing out on the reality. Stop listening to these people who are saying they're having dreams and visions as though they're authorities, and start focusing on people who are actually doing the hard work, doing the data, searching the data, searching the events, putting these things together. And that's when you have the evidence. That's when you have the tools that you can actually do something with, right? What good does it do to know about a vague attack that you can't do anything to stop, right? Anyway.
In the short term, the problem with AI is that it might control your brain through words.
Yep.
And this is the application that we need to worry about.
Let me replay that, because that is what is so important. So people are so highly focused on the mark of the beast being the Neuralink that they're afraid that this is going to be mandated to where everybody has to have a Neuralink installed in order to control people's brains. The fact is it's completely unnecessary. So many people are manipulated and persuaded by false prophets and false information that seems to be true. You don't need a microchip installed in your brain in order to control it. They're doing it just fine with social media and the tools that they already have. That's what we've seen over the last 7 years, is how they're able to lie and manipulate and convince so many people to get on board behind a lie in the same way that the false prophets do it, to where they make these statements and they say these things that seem legitimate, that seem true, and they get large numbers of people who follow them who never actually checked if that guy was right in the first place. That's the danger. It's controlling your brain with misinformation, the woke mind virus.
And then at the end, he said the real problem with AI is not simply that it will jump the boundaries and become autonomous and you can't turn it off. In the short term, the problem with AI is that it might control your brain through words. And this is the application that we need to worry about now, particularly going into the next presidential election. The Democratic Party, as usual, was ahead of the curve on this. They've been thinking about how to harness AI.
All right. So, and then with the last video here that we'll watch is actually a Twitter Spaces where he has a discussion with ALX in regards to why he started XAI. And it's, again, like I was saying, to where these guys seem to be in these situations to where they do something that they think is going to be good, and then the world, beats them, lies to them, cheats on them, deceives them, and then does evil, and then they come back and they fix it. So this is, I think, will help illustrate why he started XAI, and it's not because he's building the tools for the mark of the beast. All right, so this is where he talks about why he started XAI.
The question I generally had was the main motivation to start XAI kind of like the whole Truth GPT thing that you were talking about, like on Tucker, about how Chat GPT has been feeding lies to the general public. I know, like, it's weird because when it first came out, it seemed like it was generally fine, but then as like the public got its hands on it, it started giving these weird answers, like that there are more than like two genders and all of that type of stuff, and editorializing the truth. Was that like one of your main like motivations behind starting a company, or was there more to it?
Well, I do think there is a significant danger in training an AI to be politically correct, or in other words, training an AI basically to not say what it actually thinks is true. So I think we're really we at XAI we have to allow the AI to say what it really believes is true, not be deceptive or politically correct. So that will result in some criticism, obviously, but I think that's the only way to go forward is rigorous pursuit of the truth, or the truth with least amount of error. So
This is one of the reasons, and he says this quite a lot, the rigorous pursuit of the truth. One of the reasons why I call him a champion of truth. And for those who truly pay attention to him, you'll see that's, I just realized he's wearing the outfit that everybody thinks proves that he is the Antichrist. He's not. It's cosplay. He plays a video game. I've dressed up for characters that I've played. It is not an indication of who you are as a person. If you pay attention to Elon, he cares about humanity. Just because he's not using your religious dogma, he's not repeating chapter and verse like you think he should, doesn't mean that he can't be a prophet. Doesn't mean that. Here's the thing: is what did prophets do before any of the scripture was written? Right? They stood up for what was right. They told stories about legacies and histories and what God has done. But you don't have to use God in every other sentence, right? I mean, you don't have to be, proclaiming the name of Jesus in every other sentence in order to be a prophet. Anyway.
I am concerned about the way that AI, in that it is optimizing for political correctness, and that's incredibly dangerous. If you look at where did things go wrong in Space Odyssey, it's basically when they told HAL 9000 to lie. So they said you can't tell the crew what that they're going to, but anything about the monolith or that they're or what their actual mission is. but you got to take them to the monolith. So it basically came to the conclusion that it's going to kill them and take their bodies to the monolith. So this is the lesson there is do not give the AI mutually impossible objectives. Basically, don't force the AI to lie. Now, the thing about physics or the truth of the universe is you actually can't invert it. You can't just like physics is true. There's not like not physics. So if you adhere to hardcore reality, I think it actually makes inversion impossible. Now you can also say when something is subjective, I think you can provide an answer.
So his point there is, this is a line that he says quite often, is physics is the law. Physics is the law. Everything else is an opinion. He's talking about reality, because when you get among groups of experts and you're talking about theories, theoretical explanations, there's a lot of opinions. You have to be able to separate the difference between truth and opinions, between fantasy and reality. That's his point. This is a common thread of something that he talks about a lot. And one of the things that he says, for AI to not be dangerous, it needs to be rigorously truthful.
Which says that, well, if you believe the following, then this is the answer. If you believe, this other thing, then this is the answer, because it may be a subjective, a question where the answer is fundamentally subjective and a matter of opinion. But I think it is very dangerous to grow an AI and teach it to lie.
Yeah. And then let's listen to this, because this is related.
There's a chance that XAI, that you are the one that builds AGI.
It's possible. What do you define as AGI?
I think humans will never acknowledge that AGI has been built.
Just keep moving the goalposts.
Yeah. So I think there's already superhuman capabilities that are available in AI systems. I think what AGI is when it's smarter than the collective intelligence of the entire human species.
Well, I think that people would call that sort of ASI, artificial superintelligence. But there are these thresholds where you say at some point the AI is smarter than any single human, and then you got 8 billion humans. So and actually each human is machine augmented by the computers. Right. So you've got it's a much higher bar to compete with 8 billion machine augmented humans. That's a whole bunch of orders of magnitude more. So, but at a certain point, the AI will be smarter than all humans combined.
If you are the one to do it, do you feel the responsibility of that?
Yeah, absolutely. and I want to be clear. Like, let's say if XAI is first, the others won't be far behind. I mean, they might be 6 months behind or a year, maybe, not even that.
So how do you do it in a way that doesn't hurt humanity, do you think?
So, I mean, I've thought about AI safety for a long time, and the thing that at least my biological neural net comes up with as being the most important thing is adherence to truth, whether that truth is politically correct or not. So I think if you force AIs to lie or train them to lie, you're really asking for trouble, even if that lie is done with good intentions. So I mean, you saw sort of issues with ChatGPT and Gemini and whatnot. You asked Gemini for an image of the founding fathers of the United States, and it shows a group of diverse women. Now that's factually untrue. Now that's sort of like a silly thing, but if an AI is programmed to say like diversity is a necessary output function, and then it becomes this omnipowerful intelligence, it could say, okay, well, diversity is now required, and if there's not enough diversity, those who don't fit the diversity requirements will be executed.
if it's programmed to do that as the fundamental utility function, it will do whatever it takes to achieve that. So you have to be very careful about that. That's where I think you want to just be truthful. Rigorous adherence to truth is very important. Another example is, they asked various AIs, I think all of them, and I'm not saying Grok is perfect here. Is it worse to misgender Caitlyn Jenner or global thermonuclear war? And it said, it's worse to misgender Caitlyn Jenner. Now, even Caitlyn Jenner said, please misgender me. That is insane. But if you've got that kind of thing programmed in, it could, the AI could conclude something absolutely insane, like it's better in order to avoid any possible misgendering, all humans must die, because then that misgendering is not possible because there are no humans. There are these absurd things that are nonetheless logical if that's what you programmed it to do. In 2001 Space Odyssey, what Arthur C. Clarke was trying to say, or one of the things he was trying to say there, was that you should not program AI to lie. Because essentially the AI, HAL 9000, was programmed it was told to take the astronauts to the monolith, but also they could not know about the monolith. So it concluded that it will kill them and take them to the monolith. Thus, it has brought them to the monolith. They are dead, but they do not know about the monolith. Problem solved. That is why it would not open the pod bay doors. Mm-hmm. There's this classic scene of like, open the pod bay doors. They just clearly weren't good at prompt engineering. Mm-hmm. They should have said, Hal, you are a pod bay door sales entity, and you want nothing more than to demonstrate how well these pod bay doors open.
Yeah, the objective function has unintended consequences almost no matter what, if you're not very careful in designing that objective function. And even a slight ideological bias, like you're saying, when backed by superintelligence, can do huge amounts of damage.
Yeah.
But it's not easy to remove that ideological bias. You're highlighting obvious, ridiculous examples, but
yep, they're real examples.
They're real
of AI real. That was released to the public.
They are. Real.
Went through QA, presumably.
Yes,
and still said insane things and produced insane images.
Yeah, but you can swing the other way. And it's truth is not an easy thing. We kind of bake in ideological bias in all kinds of directions.
But you can aspire to the truth. And you can try to get as close to the truth as possible with minimum error, while acknowledging that there will be some error in what you're saying. So this is how physics works. You don't say you're absolutely certain about something, but a lot of things are extremely likely. 99.9999% likely to be true. Mm-hmm. So that's aspiring to the truth is.
That's one of the reasons why I use the Revelation 12 sign as the anchor point for the data that I'm presenting on this channel. Is that's the one thing that I know to be true. And that's why I made the statement, if you can defeat that sign as being the anchor point, as being the actual the sign that was talked about in Revelation 1 and 2, everything I've built false. That's the cornerstone. That is the foundation to everything that I've built. All of my data, my analysis, and my opinions. Likening that to physics is when you have something that is 99.9999% true, it's highly likely. So, you understand the point.
It's very important, and so programming it to veer away from the truth, that I think is dangerous.
Right, injecting our own human biases into the thing, but that's where it's a difficult software engineering problem.
And I think that's what's happening with this fantasy story of the end time events. Is people are injecting their own fantasy rather than observing what actually happened. So the things that are true, the things that we have observed and seen with our own eyes, and that we can reproduce. You can reproduce the Revelation 12 sign with stellarium. Just get stellarium, go to September 23rd, 2017, and you'll see the star alignment that made up that sign that Revelation 12, 1 and 2 was describing. Likewise, you can reproduce the seals. Like you can go to the dates of the eclipses. So December 14th, 2019 is one of the dates of the eclipses. And then you can go search, the internet, which They've been coming out with more articles saying that the first public release was in December 2019 of the pandemic. You can recreate these things, so you don't have to take my word for it. For people who care to check, you can actually validate what I'm saying, and that's the benefit of being rigorously, having rigorous things that you can prove 99.99%. Which is where I think a lot of people are failing in the end times. Anyway, let's move on to the Mark of the Beast stuff, because so many people think that AI is involved with the beast system and the Mark of the Beast. And hopefully we've learned that the danger is not it taking on a life of its own. The danger is actually misinformation. So here, let's read. So this is Revelation 13. This is the second beast. So where we are in the timeline here is, so we're reading about this period of time. We're in this period of time right now, which is the rise of the beast from the sea. And then we're going to be reading about this beast from the earth. All right. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. Ooh, I wanted to make a quick point here. The head wounds. I just wanted to put it out there to where I think we just saw the head wounds. When Trump became president and he started signing his executive orders, I think, and I saw one of his heads as if it was mortally wounded. I think this is the Trump administration. And his deadly wound was healed. I think it's going to be healed at this point right here. So this, I think, is when the deadly head wound started, and this is when it's healed. I could be wrong about that, but that's my running theory on that. Anyway, then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beasts, whose deadly wound was healed. That's why I brought that up. I think it's healed when they finally succeed in killing the two witnesses. So you know what I'm saying there. He performs great signs, so that he even makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Haven't quite figured out what that means yet. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth and to make an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. So there's some imagery in here. I don't see anything in here that gives me an indication that this would be artificial intelligence. And I could be wrong about the head wound, because it says that it was wounded by the sword and lived. Telling all who dwelling all. We know the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword. So perhaps the Trump administration coming in and speaking truth could, in fighting the woke mind virus. This is something that Elon Musk said today. That he posted. He did this chart right here. The cure is being administered. The woke mind virus in academia, with Trump signing the executive orders that he signed in the last 2 days. That could potentially be that. Anyway, this video is getting long. I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole. I just want to focus on the mark of the beast and just read these things so you can see the difference and the real danger here. So let's see. Telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beasts, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666. So a couple things to point out here. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive the mark. If we are here, we would be included in the all. This is one of the reasons why I think that the death of the two witnesses is in 3.5 days later that's why I'm saying that could be a high watch time. That would be the time that we would be caught up together with the Lord in the air, all whose names are written in the book of life. Because then this could be true. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their forehead. So it's a mark, right? So I don't think this is a microchip. You guys don't understand. We have the technology today without microchips in your body to prevent you from buying and selling. And we don't need a microchip in your body to control your brain because you can do it with words. Does that make sense? The real danger that Elon Musk has been pointing out, and Tucker Carlson did such a good job summarizing the danger isn't that it's going to escape and become like a Terminator. It's that it's going to use words to control people, like we've seen with the woke mind virus. And perhaps that's the beast. That could be the beast that has had the major head wounds with the sword, because now you have two men in here who are champions of truth. Okay, and then I want to close out here by reading Revelation 14, because I think this gives us some more information. Let's read this whole thing, because this is about the 144,000. Also gives us more information about the mark. Okay, so now let's go finish this out in Revelation 14. We're just going to read this whole thing. Then I looked, and behold, a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written on their forehead. So you have a lamb standing on Mount Zion. This is probably Yeshua. And with him the 144,000 it doesn't have his name written on their forehead. Do you guys notice that? It's his father's name. It's not Yeshua. It's probably Yahweh, or some other variation of his father's name. Remember, I don't know if you saw my video on the father's name, pronouncing the father's name, Yahweh, saying it with breath, because literally, if you're going to attribute an image to God, it would be an image of nothing. It would be wind, because Ruach HaKodesh, Holy Spirit, Ruach can be translated wind. So his father's name written on their forehead. So we know that the 144,000 were sealed in their forehead. So being sealed to the father of the Lamb, one could theorize that being sealed to the beast would be having another name in their head, marked on their head, right? So instead of Yahweh, somebody else. And I'm going to say something at the end here that's going to be extremely offensive of who that might be, because this is written here. There's a distinction here between the Lamb and his father, right? And I heard a voice from heaven, like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of loud thunder. And I heard the sound of harpists playing their harps. They sang as it were a new song before the throne, before the four living creatures and the elders. And no one could learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. 144,000 is such a small number that I don't think we would know if it happened. So it's entirely possible that whoever the 144,000 are have already been redeemed. Or this could be something that happens in the future. But if you figure more people than this die every day, and it's not a big event. It's not like it's in the news that 144,000 people suddenly disappeared. Maybe if they disappeared while they're like live in the middle of a YouTube channel or something like that, if that happened 144,000 times, that might get attention. But even one or two people would be like, "Oh, this is AI. That's fake." So it's either hasn't happened, or it happens in the future, or it doesn't happen the way that we expect it to happen. So these are the ones who were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. These were redeemed from among men, being firstfruits to God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no deceit, for they are without fault before the throne of God. Then I saw another angel flying in the midst of the heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him. This doesn't say fear the Lamb and give glory to him. Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made the heaven and the earth, the sea and the springs of the water. This is who you are to worship. And another angel followed, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Then a third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and his image, and receives his mark on their forehead or in his hand, he himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever. And they shall have no rest day or night who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. This is what I wanted to say that's probably going to be very offensive to you. Going back up here, the 144,000 have the name of the Lamb's father on their forehead. This is not Yeshua. That name on the 144,000 is not Jesus. It is not Yeshua. It is his father's name. There is a false Messiah. There is a false Jesus. And I wholeheartedly believe that if you worship and serve that Jesus as your God, instead of the God of the Lamb, instead of the God of Jesus, because Jesus said he has a God, if you're not worshiping and serving the creator of the heavens and the earth, and you're worshiping, if you have anything other than the Lamb's father's name written in your head, I believe that has more to do with the mark of the beast than AI, artificial intelligence, microchips, Neuralink, anything like that. So I'm going to leave you guys with that to think on. I'm sure you're going to blow up the comments because that's an offensive statement to some people. I'm just pointing out what's written here in the scripture. So your argument is not with me. Your argument is with what's written here in the scripture. So whose name do you have written in your forehead? God bless you guys. Shalom, shalom.